Today at One Man Garage, we're gonna. Hello. Larry, One Man Garage. Gonna try to work on some springs I got last week for the Scout. Let me show you. So I went and saw that feller that has all the Scout's parts and projects in Seagoville. And I had to get the Scout 80/800 front springs I needed and the little shackles. And I got Scout 2 lower shock plates because I'm putting the Dana 44 Scout 2 axles in. But springs, I had to get the 1 3/4 inch wide springs. Had a little tough time finding them in his pile. We ended up finally getting a set, but one set was pulled apart. And then this one had a bent mainspring. This one looks okay. So what we're going to do is pull this nut off, break this pack, and basically install what's missing from the bottom of here onto here so that we can match this one. We should be good to go. We'll round up some bolts. I'll get some new bolts. I got some new rubber grommets. We'll have to burn those out. Those are going to be a pain in the butt. There's a sleeve there, so I got to put new bushings in when it's the time to assemble. But that's what's going on. We got to work towards getting this front suspension ready for a front axle because we're going to be cleaning those up. The mini spool came in for the rear, so I'll have to do some degreasing and pinion seals and re-oiling and get that axle swapped on the other rear end and the mini spool. And then we'll weld the perches on. I showed you in one of the reels. Got to put perches on both. So it's going to be an ordeal. Probably do some patina washing, try to get some more of this beige tan paint off, because this cleaned up pretty nice right here. I mean, it's not permanent, but it'll be way better than all this blotches of whatever leprosy that is. Yeah, I'm trying to get this done because I'm going to try to drop some scrap off. I'd like to throw this main leaf in with the rest of the scrap in the back of my Ram so I can clean that out. Well, let's see what happens. Hey, that worked. Nothing broke. Oh, except my phone. Just kidding. So 7 springs is what we want. This is 5, so we just need the 2 off the bottom. We'll just put them on this one. And then, yeah, that's all we need, right? So I had to put a little squeeze on that, so swap the bolt out so the one we just took off, the threads are cleaner. I'm going to try to pull that back together. Maybe. Shouldn't really be boogered. Or is it? We'll see. Maybe you can watch from here. That doesn't look good. Maybe it'll tighten up. I think it's square. Or it'll strip out and we'll just have to get new pin bolts. Try not to. It's supposed to be a budget. Really just trying to get it off the trailer with the wheels on it, on the rear at least. Change that to not brake mode. How much? That looks pretty close. I think that's about done. Can't believe I was able to rebuild a set of springs that fast. Man, that's some kind of YouTube record. Rebuilt, check. Do I scrap all of what's left? Probably. Let's count. 2, 4, 6, 1. That's 7. 2, 4, 6. Okay. Yep, I can still count. There's a bolt. Should we keep the bolt? Okay, sure. Almost had a lose a toe moment when this fell. I'm wearing my safety shoes. I think I'm gonna beat on that with a hammer and see what happens. That worked, by the way. So the diameter of this thread, it's bigger than that shank. The thread is the size of my shackles, and it's the thread of my inserts. So my bolts need to be this, not that. Used some hammer action and got this more or less straightened back up. It's not tight anymore, but it's back wrapped around like it ought to be. I don't know if that's the front or the rear. I got to figure that out. 2 clamps on one end, 1 clamp on the other. Maybe y'all can tell me. But anyways, hammer the crap out of that. I don't know if you saw, but it was all distorted. Should be fine. Pretty sure that's 7/16 thread. So 3 inches is just past shackle install, so 3.5 length is what I need. Next day I decided to give the old AutoZone some business. I used to use them a lot more. Nothing personal, just got used to O'Reilly and Rock Auto and Amazon and eBay. But I picked up 2 Dana 44 pinion seals, got the house brand in stock cheaper, 1 for the front and rear axles, and 1 cover gasket. Really like to get the good Felpro Cold Snack. So the front, I think I poured gas in it and it leaked. I pulled the pinion nut off, but the gas, like, it leaked pretty freely past the yoke. So when the cat's out of the way, I'm gonna flip this around and pull the yoke off, rinse it from the top down one more time, maybe brake clean the gears off, and then flip it around, put the new pinion seal, and get that sealed up, and then we'll just put a hole in it and seal the top. We'll just go from there. As you can see on the reminder, it could use a rinse. It's not horrible. It does have rust damage actually on the gears there, but we're not even going to be hooking this up, so it's just going to have a clean hole in it to trickle down up in the bearings or whatever. It'll be fine. It's got a few tight spots, but like, we're going to keep the hubs disengaged anyway, so it's fine. It's fine. Get my puller, pull that baby off. I got out one of my, it's a must tool. If you're just now trying to get tools to work on cars and it's all new to you, be sure and get a basic universal puller that has the 4 slots. That way you can do steering wheels, pinion flanges, harmonic balancers. It's really handy for a lot of things. It'll come with a variety of bolts, and you'll damage some threads. You want to grease it when you use it, but it's just a must-do tool. It's not expensive, so just get you one if you're new at gathering up your tools and trying to get into working on your own stuff. And for everybody else, it's obviously super familiar with basic stuff, but I just wanted to throw it out there for the noob self-home mechanic project guy, gal. Today's lubrication will be provided by Liquid Wrench. Especially on new tools, you want to make sure you don't gall your threads. Let's see what happens now. Oh, that came off easy. Probably didn't need the puller, but whatever. Do something real quick here. Pull the slack out of that. You would have thought that had a dust shield, but it's like built into the seal, I guess. Kind of weird. Just leaving the hardware with the tool because we're going to do it again today or tomorrow on that other axle, the rear axle. So I'm going to test fit the inner diameter of the seal. If my phone will stay. Yep, that seems right. All good from here. The diameter seems right. Alright, I gotta pry that out. I'm not gonna film that. Maybe I will show some hammering, I don't know. It's just probably not gonna be all of it. Got this jacked up screwdriver I've used for everything else already. Try to collapse this in. Dana 44 stuff's a little bit weird compared to the GM style, even though they're same design, but just some differences in the way things shim. Or yeah, this was like an outer metal shield in the inner seal that was all part of one seal. I'm just now getting it collapsed to get it to pry out. So the sucker might have been cemented in. I mean, I don't know if somebody's changed this before or not, but it's wrestling me a little bit. But you will not defeat Gearman. Yeah, that's my other handle. Oh. Yep, they pookied that one in, no wonder. Damn. Let's use that Gorilla shit. Yeah, this thing's got some kind of plate or shim under here. I guess maybe it's an oil slinger, probably what it is. If this channel ever grew to where it was monetized and God willing any sponsors one day, I'd be so content with just maybe some complimentary brake cleaner, because I can go through so much of it so often. Because it's more than just brakes. We use that shit on everything, like Frank's Red Hot Sauce, right? So, alrighty. Just gonna ease, rotate, rotating, not dropping, not falling down. Come on out of there, disc. Come on out. Get my magnet. Come on out of there. Nope. I just want to get that out so I can wash. Come on. There we go. Okay. Now we're talking. There's the outer pinion bearing. We'll probably pull it out and rinse. Then we'll flip this down and pour gas in there, or more brake clean, and hose off the gears and let it run out freely. And I can finish wiping that down. I guess we'll just leave that in there. I just hosed it out a little bit, and we're gonna let that hang down and then just let it drain through freely. Freely, I say. Yeah, brake cleaner didn't last long at all, and I ain't even got to the brakes yet. You know, it'd be smarter if I just use pump gas and eventually get one of the manual pump up sprayers, because you could probably get 2 gallons of gas for what 1 can of, you know, spray cleaner is. You could just have you some gas in a can and pump the thing and pressurize it and shoot it out. I think the old ways were better, y'all. Well, wiped up what I could with the gas, surface rust on the rust, because rust was in this. So you can see some of the etching. This isn't going to be great, but it'll be fine. Especially, like I said, we're not even using it. Maybe one day it'll get hooked up, but just going to flip it over and do the seal. Get some oil in it, seal this cover up. We're just going to use silicone. The old gasket stayed on here, so we'll silicone this one back with some oil in it. So that's back up there. Good old Timken 02872, I guess. Must be the original bearing, probably. More than likely. This is pretty well cleaned out. Oil slinger installed. AutoZone seal. I'll use a piece of wood, knock that in. Well, that went pretty quickly, so that's already in there, nice. So, flange, we're going to want to seal the splines with some Teflon non-hardening thread sealant, and then grease on the seal surface outer. There's that Permatex non-hardening thread sealant on the left. Can use that on the inner splinage to seal against the flange pinion spline so it doesn't have a slow leak. And then I just had some Mellings engine assembly lube. I use a little bit of that for the seal. Stuff's pretty gooey. Don't put too much. I'm going to put it in the middle to outer edge of the splines, so it'll push outward towards the nut, and you know, when that goes on. Let's see if y'all get to watch or not. I'll put it on this edge. That'll do. And a little of this. Just, you know, smear that around with the old finger. Yeah, we got that thing pushed down, the washer back on. Now I'm just going to use the old nut and put some thread locker on that. Go get, I think that was a 1 1/8 inch socket. Let me go get that. Yep, that was 1 1/8. Let's see if we can get that torqued on a little bit. Basically, I'm just getting the slack out of it. Could be a little tight on the crush sleeve. This thing feels weird because it's got some rusty spots. So. It works. It'll be fine, because technically we aren't even going to use it. It's just going to be sitting there just trying to hopefully just not have oil leak through it. So yeah, alrighty. Guess we're ready to see if I still have any gear oil laying around. I'm out of gear oil, so I'm going to pull this plug in advance, and then we'll just seal it on, and I'll probably spray some of this just to coat the gears, because I, had gas in there. It's kind of dry. That'll be fine. All right. For once, I had the tool. It was actually a 1/2 inch square drive to get that out. That is out and then just finger tight. Well, she's siliconed up with the old Ultra Black or whatever that is. And, the Dana 44 is pretty good rear end. It specs out with a decent 30 spline axle, which is like a 12-bolt Chevelle, and an 8.50 ring gear, like the good GM corporate 10-bolt. The only thing, I guess my only complaint on the specs is it has a smallish pinion diameter, so maybe that's the weak link on these. Do people break off? Do the pinions snap off at the yoke or anything? Because, a 30 spline 8.5, that ain't bad. And they've used these in so many things. Lots of Corvettes stuff use these, and, obviously Jeeps and stuff. All kinds of trucks and whatever. So, there you go. Whatever. We're going to seal it on. That one's got crud in it. Just going to tighten the ones that didn't have crap in the threads. I picked up some 80W90 at O'Reilly's. I believe I found that the front axle uses 2.7 pints, whereas the rear axle uses 4.3 pints. So we're going to put 1.5 quarts or so in this one, and then we'll save the rest for the other one later today. Well, got that knocked out. Just a little bit of pressure on that, not much. I'm going to prevent rain getting in it again because, with the axle out, it didn't have a cover on the vent. So this thing laying on the ground, just water got in it, and we can't put a proper hose with a loop in it into the frame until it's all installed. So we're just going to cap it. But at least it's red, so we'll notice it to remember to remove it and do it right later. Or we'll just leave it, put a clamp on it. No, we'll do it right. I said in the past, buy local at the local owned hardware store and get you some good fasteners on your projects. It's worth the money. Don't have to mess with cleaning stuff or using rusty stuff. And if you really can, try to go to the more locally owned place versus the chain, because they need your business. So anyway, back to the project. I'm gonna work on those springs today too, get those bushings ready. Well, I got me some 3x4 inch scraps of 3/8 steel, and scribed some 1 inch 3 times separated at 2 inches. So this represents the Scout 2 locator pin right here that's like on 31 inch centers, and the early Scout is on 33 inch centers, so that's 1 inch per side. So I need to drill a hole to make a new locator pin, and then I can install and weld on top of the 2 inch frame bracket like so, like I can go all the way around the edges on it, and that'll locate my holes to put the axle in. So just throwing that out there. We'll see what happens. Well, hey, I got a pilot hole drilled and even got it in the right spot. But I got to work my way up to a 1/2 inch hole and then ream that out to 0.53, I believe. Well, at 7/16, that went pretty well. Guess we'll step up to 1/2 inch. Only problem is my 1/2-inch bit's already kind of dull. Darn it. Found a 9/16 drill bit I had. Maybe it will work. That's actually the right hole I need anyway. I'll be damned, I got it done. It actually just needs to grind and weld prep and bevel the edges. And I could line this up and tack it. Maybe weld it. I don't have purge gas. I just have gas. Probably should have wore pants and socks for this, but anyway, second pilot hole drilled. Moving along. 7/16 went through like butter. Now to the final 9/16. Thankfully, I only need to do these two because I bought the purchase for the other axle. Yay. Yay. Got them both drilled. Golf clap. Up some of the weld surfaces. So, beveled the bottom of the plates where the welds will be. We'll see if my welder can do anything today. Well, sketch engaged. Hopefully I can get a few tacks in there. We just want to get the rear end clamped in to make a roller. No brakes, no nothing, and then later we'll, pull axles out for weld up elsewhere. Or trailer it and do it while they're on the car. I do have my reference lines lined up on the edge. I think we're okay. Well, we won't do any detail shots, but let's just say there's better popcorn at the theater. But hey, I tapped it with a hammer and it didn't fall off. So if it's good enough to drag the rear end on the car and get it mocked up with U-bolts, that's all it needs to do, and then it'll be weld proper. So don't judge me. Well, it's raining today, so it's a bust. But looky, there's 2 perches on there, so this will get test fit pretty soon. Feeling excited. Once it's in there, we'll put the steering arm thing back on and straighten up the rotors. Yay. Did I mention that besides the 2 races rained out on the Catalina, that our June 2nd race was rescheduled to June 23rd? So I don't have any TMCC races for quite some time. We'll do a test and tune once that's off the trailer, which is why we're jamming to get the axles in it. We're gonna do the pulley and belt on the Catalina and port match and install a Performer RPM intake, but we gotta port it to a 2.30 inch tall intake gasket. So, and then we're gonna do the coil springs and front suspension on this, so it'll roll, so we can put it over there. And then maybe drive the Star Chief and park it over here as a driver. Something like that. We'll see. Well, I'm doing dumb stuff, burning rubber. Not the fun way, but more like rubber bushings. So I got to get these springs stripped out so I can put the new bushings in and get these in with the new hardware I bought, so we can test fit the axle that I basically put the adapter plates on in a manner that will get it clamped together so we can weld it up somewhere else. But if you recall, I scrubbed on this fender and it shined up quite a bit and got that tan beige paint off. The original postal blue still there. Started doing some scrubbing over here, and different method, but similar results. Not finished, but looking good. This is going to be great going over the whole car and just enjoy the blue for a while, and just delete the light tan, whatever. But it's going to be cool. Future plans, I won't say what it is now, but I think you'll like it. The blue is not permanent, but we want to get it all blue during the build of the vehicle. And then once it's operable, then we'll do the conversion. Yeah, I flipped that rear end right side up. And I didn't see oil leaking, so that's a plus. So that's pretty nice. It's oiled up, vent capped, turns over, got little half-ass perches on it. It's a 1-inch offset outward each side. Should drop right on easily. I'm starting on this one. That other one just crumbled and fell out. Which, yeah, like in the dust. It just burned it up. And that's literally dry rotted. When you dry rubber after you burn it, just falls out like ash. But what sucks is there's like a steel sleeve that gets stuck in there, and that has to come out. So was told you might have to slip a Sawzall blade in there and try to cut it inside out. So for now we're just doing rubber deletion. Look, it's turning into dirt. I've been inside watching Little Grip Garage and Stay Tuned with Tony Angelo with some cold snacks, enjoying my Friday. But you know, progress is progress. Well, another one down. One more to go. And then we'll have to deal with the sleeves. And I don't know if that's today or in the morning. We'll see. Well, I'd say that's done, and it even walked out on its own. Let's drop this sucker. Drop this sucker. Well, maybe I can tap that out real quick. Well, I hit my hand with a hammer twice, so I'm going to say nope. Gears, going to work on swapping axles and cleaning out gears and do pinion seal on this rear axle. Last time we was over here, we gutted out this one and got the axles out. And the rusty gears, blah, blah, blah. So I got to take that off the stands, put this on the stands, and replace the... yeah, I think that's the bad axle, pretty sure. So, here we go. So yeah, that's ready to go. We had this open a while back, 354 ratio. But we got to clean the housing out really good on this one. Backing plates are pretty beat to crap. Probably the other ones are in better shape, so I'll use the other backing plates. Not doing any brake lines or brakes. Just need a roller. Brakes come. Maybe not till it even has a running drivetrain. Well, had to get another battery. That's nasty in there. A lot of cleaning to do. Look at that mud on there. Good gravy. Guess we're gonna pull this one too, just to get the damn thing cleaned up. Well, this side looks much better, so at least that's some good news. It's pretty damn nasty in there though. Well, I was hoping to do the mini spool install without pulling the diff out. But note, it has a roll pin instead of a bolt screw like a GM. So I might be able to push that to the other side. Not sure. Guess we'll see. Well, I need something between the size of a 63 Pontiac turn signal indicator handle stick and a big nail or screw. So I need something in between, preferably round and flat on the end. Had to pull the caps off to get more room. Use a Quadrajet bolt, which has worked perfectly before for roll pins this size, and then the socket over that so I can hit over here, and I finally got it coming out. Little that matters though, because also, unlike a GM, I'm not going to be able to get the cross pin out without the ring gear off, so it's all coming out anyway. So that's fine. We can clean it. Maybe we'll haul it to the car wash and blast it. Maybe. So again, the pry bar scrap steel that I picked up that ended up helping me load the Scout worked perfect to pop the gear out. Got it over here. We're going to knock the ring gear off so it can do the mini spool. And I had to go ahead and get the pinion out. Just going to reseal it. It came out real easy. So just going to knock out the seal and the bearing. And we're going to take this to car wash, I guess. So once again, hoarding up and saving handy things like this big wood dowel. That there were some of these in the garage attic when I bought this place 24 years ago, and that worked perfect to drive the pinion against the seal from the inside out, knock it out real quick and easy instead of fighting like last time to pull it from the outside on the other axle. And I'll have to get a vent in here when we're done. Gotta let that damn water in there. This is ready to load in the truck. And here's a little reminder, always put the caps back on before you go moving the rear end around so you can keep them in the right orientation where they were and not lose them. And the same goes for engine blocks. You pull an engine down, even if it's a core, take the crank out, put the caps back where they go, just finger it tight or whatever, because somebody down the road might end up with that and be pissed off the caps are lost or you know, whatever. But same on rear ends, man. Put those caps back before you do anything else. Turned into just backing my truck off the driveway and getting some easy off oven cleaner, and I'm going to use the water hose sprayer inside out so that it doesn't carry trash to the center section. It'll be fine. So I don't know that this race is going to clean up on this one where the bad bearing was. I don't want to have to buy a race, so we're just going to try to clean the other rear end that we gutted out. It's supposed to be smooth like this, if you can see that, because I don't really want to spend money. I don't have to, so we'll see. Well, the rear end that we pulled the rusty 373 gears out that had good axles gets the pass. All the axle races and the inner and outer pinion races are good, not pitted or rough. They're smooth, so we're good to go to assemble this housing. Was test fitting the perches inside to get close to that 33 something inch measurement, and it's funny that it actually pretty well is within an 1/8 inch of dead on. And you know, the leaf springs wiggle a little bit side to side, so it's actually going to work. Just keeping them parallel to the other ones and just up against them. Well, I guess we'll start doing pinion assembly. The Dana 44 is interesting. It has very precise pinion shims here, no crush sleeve, different than a GM style. And the washer stayed stuck in there, so we'll just leave that there. But we're going to use some lubes and some sealants and make sure. I'll probably grease those races before I assemble with that engine lube stuff. Remember, the oil slinger goes behind the seal before we put that on. That rides against the shims. That right there will be against the shims. And then that. I got the seal in place, got the Teflon, seal the splines, and then of course the Loctite will go on here when we drive the nut on. We'll see how it feels. I knew that was going to happen. Let's put it over here. Pretty snug. No 4.5 slop. Could be a tad tight, but I'll leave it for now. Need to do that mini spool. Yeah, now it's time to take these ring gear bolts off and knock that loose. Yay. And now that those are out, you see this little edge here, you're gonna wanna, we're gonna like knock that loose to get that knocked off. Sometimes you'll have a better flat surface to hit. This one's barely a lip right there. So I gotta knock that down. Then we're gonna have to clean out that goop. That was easy. Well, this kind of is not good, or the shimmed bearing just kind of fell off and looked like it's been spinning over the differential. That ain't right. Might have to try to glue that bitch on with some JB weld or something. I don't know. And the bearing seems alright. Huh. And yeah, I probably am going to just JB weld that. I'll degrease it with some gas, because this is still just a junk differential. If this thing was ever going to be nice, it would get a new sure grip or posi, whatever. So, and the mini spool can be removed out of this carrier later. So we're just trying to, we're not driving it right now. It's not, I mean, I'm going to put the housing in without the axles in, pretty sure, so it'll be lighter and easier to handle. Just tape the open ends of the axles. So we quadrajet bolt going back in the hole. Finish knocking roll pin over. That ought to be pretty close, far enough, I would think. Man, why does that get so tight? We're going to see if we can knock that out. Of course, those will be the pieces to replace all of this, and then the pin will go back in. The pin knocked over. It's pretty worn in right here. That's from low oil and doing one wheel big burnouts. So somebody in their Scout must have been smoking the tire, one wheel peel. This one's not bad, but this one is roasted. But we're going to reuse it, because that's what we do. Take all this crap out now, see? Just pull them spiders out. And the spider washer. And the other spider. The other spider washer. Side gears out. It's got its own little shim. Other side gear out. And, I'm probably going to have a bucket of Dana 44 leftover shit like these, maybe clean them up 373s, stuff like that, and maybe you know, just put in a bucket of used motor oil or something. I'm going to try to get this assembly going. So got these pieces in. So basically, you know, the curved side of the blocks will be on the outer side and the flat spots in the middle. It just jams it up, puts a big square in the middle. Pin locks it in place. Well, as in other times I've done these inappropriate rear end setups, it's like the thickness of the coatings mess up the tolerance. Like they machine it bare metal, then they coat everything, and then now it's 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters too thick. So I have to grind the sides clean on this to get it to fit. And I'm sure it's because they coat the side gears and coat these, so that's 4 coatings that add together and make it just slightly too tight. So I took the side blocks back out and I found a piece of slag casting that was flashing. It was kind of maybe hitting one of the side gears, so I pulled that out and ground it with the bit down there on the grinder. And I actually was able to get the blocks in, but I had to hammer them in. They was too tight, and then you couldn't rotate, you know, to position it to put the pin back in. So got the grinder out, took well, that was supposed to be off 90 degrees. Well, that's dumb. Anyways, took paint off this side and this side correctly. This side, I guess I need to grind some more. I was taking the paint off so I could free up like 1 millimeter clearance. Alright, that's fixed, and you know, like I said, these are 30 spline axles, so it's actually pretty stout. I think it'll work real well. Done mini spools a few times. I did a 28 spline in the Oldswagon, and 455, 42, 4,300 pounds, race weight, 7 nines and an 1/8 mile, and kept the tire diameter at 26 inches. That's kind of my rule for 28 spline axles. 30 spline axles, I figured 28 inch tire. I consider the height of the tire hooking up directly related to the leverage against the strength of an axle for reliability. Side note, helped my buddy build a GMC Jimmy S10 Blazer square body deal. Went and got a junkyard 7.5 inch ring gear 26 spline little 10 bolt. Put mini spool like this in it, and that thing actually ran 6 nines and 7 ohs in the 1/8 mile with a 383. Ran really good. 26 inch tires, and it held up. I mean, yeah, it didn't have hundreds of passes on it, but it was a driver and a racer, and man, it worked. So how about that? Let's see if they fit. We'll do it with the camera off. I got one whittled down like it's supposed to, that way I can turn it. So that's working now. Now I just got to whittle the other one more. Well, with quite a few tries and more grinding and some light tapping, I firmly got it together and rotated and lined up to get the pin in. I did the pinky in there and feel it's lined up really good. So we can put the pin back in, and then this pin, then this pin. Then we can put the ring gear back on and then deal with that. Well, it is in like Flynn, whatever that means. I'm just going to go down a little bit further with the old Quadrajet bolt. Ring gear torqued back, good to go. Now to degrease this little slightly unfortunate situation. So I never thought I'd be doing this. I've actually never had a differential with a spun bearing before on the outside. That's really weird. But for the quality of this build and the fact that I'm just building stuff out of junk, and, mini spools and JP Weld are kind of par and equal. So, and the GM's shim on the outside of the races. So if this is a little loose, I can shim the outside like a GM and stick a small shim in there. So we're just gonna mash that on there. As long as that was, it's still oddly satisfying. Oh, what is this? Silicone? Did somebody know this was jacked up? That seems strange. Somebody's... Did I work on this before? I don't know. That was weird. Well, let's drop it back in there, and backlash sounds pretty good. Preload is probably a tad light, but it's about where it was, exactly like it was on the other rear end. Guess I might measure the backlash. Nah, well, maybe. Yeah, just gonna tighten it up. Light torque. Light. 3 oogas. 3 oogas. 3 oogas. 3 oogas. Well, after wrestling with that mini spool yesterday, decided to be satisfied just to get it in the car, and on the perches, we'll probably just clamp it down. It had like some little overload springs I took out on the bottom from the pack, because that way also so the traction bars will clamp up better, but I wanted to soften the back just a touch anyway. They're known to be buckboard stiff. So anyways, got funny enough, the perches lay just inside the original Scout 2 perches, and it dropped in on the pins perfectly, like the new brackets just butt up against the old brackets. It's kind of cool, because then you can use the old bracket and be like, oh, it's level. So theoretically, if we wanted to match the angle of the stock perch, which is fine in my book, you can use that for your level check, and then check the other one. Boom, level. So it's actually even on both sides, squared up on the pegs. So I guess we'll try to put the traction bars on and get U-bolts on it. I haven't put oil in it or anything yet. I was going to do the axles later. It's a little lighter without the axles in it, you know, to get it up in here. I am kind of old. Well, it turns out the U-bolts I took a chance buying at Tractor Supply were just a tad short, probably an inch short, because they went into the traction bar but wanted to go through to get the nuts on. And I'm only going to be able to do one U-bolt until I trim this off, because this is blocking the other U-bolt, so I'd have to chop that off with a cut-off wheel either way. So I just kind of jammed it in there to where it's how it be kind of looking, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, guess that's gonna be it for this week's, or yeah, because this was on and off through the week. I've been working on this, not all at one shot. So thanks for watching. Progress is happening. Been pretty pleased with the progress. Figured some of this would slow me down a little bit, but hang in there, keep watching. This old man will keep doing stuff. Of course, this thing will run one day, but we're going to switch gears after we get this off the trailer so we can work on that 6.9 Firebird and this yellow Oldsmobile and keep racing the Catalina. That's priority still. But yep, I don't know. I'm liking what's happening so far here. So that's all I got right now on One Man Garage. Thanks for watching.